In this video, I'm circling back to one of the Alex Moulton builds that I presented to you a few videos ago. But this is not going to be so much about the Moulton bike, but about this amazing slanted rack that is beginning to grow on me more and more. Originally, I just shot the video because I thought that this was an amazing build, and I think it is. But it is an amazing build, not just because of the craftsmanship, but because, look at how they build it. This is a Japanese craftsman, and this is a custom Moulton build for somebody with deep pockets who can afford to do this. I would say, just looking at the space frame here, a miniature space frame support for the seat post, that tells me that this thing cost minimum $8,000 to $10,000 just for the standard bike. And then they added modifications to it. And the most obvious one is this slanted rack, which I have never seen before anybody do. And anybody who has had a small wheel bike with a rear rack and tried to pack anything onto it knows that you are going to be kicking that bag. If the pedal goes around like this in this area, and this is a much higher rack than what you would get on the Brompton, even this way you're going to be kicking the bag. Now, let me show you how. This is like a standard steel frame Brompton. Look at this pedal. You turn the pedal. I know because I used to have the rear rack. So here is what I thought. But before I go ahead, make sure to check out my shopping site below. I have some new t-shirts. I keep on adding new ones every day. And my book gives away all of the tricks that allows you to build either a pocket rocket with the human powered or electric powered configuration. So it's a cheap way of gaining access to all the knowledge I could give you. Now, what I'm thinking of obviously is how can I adopt this to my Brompton? This is gorgeous, brilliant work, and this is some kind of a brazing. This master craftsman has been brazing stainless steel that looks like the original Moulton on top of an existing bicycle. And he's doing work that looks like the original. You can't even tell that this is not the original Moulton. And it's the same kind of brazing I see here. And I don't know what weight it can carry, but the styling of it totally fits with the Moulton. So this is exceptional work. And he must have set back, whoever ordered this machine, another few $1,000s on top of the original. So here is what I was thinking. There are these really cheap rear racks. The idea of applying the rear rack is something like this. So this is what it looks like if you just put it on as you buy it from Amazon. And I guess it's pretty ugly. I probably would not want to apply it quite like that. Although once you put bags on it, it's probably not even going to show. So it doesn't even matter if it's ugly or not. But if you look at what Amazon is charging for it, this is a $23 purchase. The item weighs about 1 pound. This whole thing weighs about 1 pound. And it's capable of carrying 22 pounds by the admission of the company. That means I could put 20 pounds into the rear. See, the weight load capacity is a little over 20 pounds. And there seems to be a bit of adjustability, like you could push it out a bit. And because it's mass produced, probably in China, it's really not expensive. And I'm thinking this is probably aluminum as well. I could not find any evidence as to what it's made of. I imagine if you had this custom made out of steel, it could carry even more. But the bottom line is, if I can put 10 pounds in the front of my Brompton and 20 pounds in the rear, a 10-pound battery is going to give you a 50-mile range. A 20-pound battery, at least 100. So the two batteries could extend your range to 100 miles on a single charge. Actually 150 miles. 100 miles if you just load up the back. But if you use the front bag as well, which is what I am doing, then you could load up enough battery power to support yourself for 150 miles, which is quite amazing. Now I tried to experiment with, what if I turn this upside down, and then it looks more like the original Brompton, Moulton idea. It's not as elegant because I guess it looks more slanted. Yeah, it's a it's a much longer rack what the Moulton has. It's just the whole bike is much less squashed. It's a more elegant design. But I definitely would not be kicking this thing up this far. And it could even be removed. If you want to fold the bike, you could still remove it. You could just remove this whole seat post as a single piece with the rack and fold the bike. Obviously not for shopping, but more like packing and storing in an apartment, something like that. I mean, if I was going to do this, I would probably end up hiring a craftsman, and instead of paying $23, I'd rather pay 10 times as much and get something made out of steel, something that's stylish and goes well with my Brompton. But this whole thing reminds me of this British sports car. You might be familiar with it. This is the Morgan. It runs on a BMW drivetrain, but it's entirely British craftsmanship. It's beautifully put together, but it's so old-fashioned and tight. It does not have a boot. There's nowhere to put your stuff, except that they are providing a similar slanted rack that you see on the Moulton. And that's where people are supposed to put their suitcase or whatever. And this guy is showing you how to set this up. You basically have to strap it on. And here you can see what they do. This is your suitcase for a trip, and you just pack it on, and they even have a spare tire on it with the wheel in it. And it doesn't even look that bad. Here's another one. Beautiful car, for sure. So I wonder if you could do something similar to a bicycle. And this turned upside down, look, it just doesn't look good. So I tried to switch it around, like what would it look like if you rotated this plate on this bar. The fact that this thing costs $23 and can carry 20 or 22 pounds, it is still astonishing to me, and how it would look. And you could say that you could just buy a trailer and drag the batteries behind you, and the trailer could carry 100 pounds, and that's true. But what if you don't want to add the extra weight of the trailer and the rolling resistance of at least one extra wheel? Depending upon which trailer you're getting, it's going to have at least one wheel. If it has 2 or 3 wheels, then it's going to be a whole different vehicle. So you're going to have a lot more rolling resistance with that kind of a setup. But this is an interesting way of drastically expanding the weight load, the carrying capacity of a small wheel bike, not just the Brompton. Obviously you are seeing the Moulton here. You could do the same thing with the Birdie. Although the Birdie is a tricky design, the original rack is already much higher. I don't have a Birdie picture here, but the Birdie rack is automatically moving up here as you unfold the bike, which is a really brilliant way of doing it. And if you have a Birdie, then maybe you could just go with that. I'm not sure if you can carry 20 pounds though. It looks like a bit more fragile of a design, but I don't know what the official weight load is. In any case, I weigh 150 pounds and I add 20 pounds here, 10 pounds in the front. That's 30 pounds at 180 pounds. There are many people I have personally known who weigh around 175, 180 pounds who ride Brompton. So long that you have the steel frame, it should not be a problem. And it's a really interesting idea.
I'll be back.